One evening, a few years ago, I found myself stuck in Turin. Not in the city, but in the airport, Torino Caselle. Lots of other people did too. Nothing was taken off. The phrase "await announcements" multiplied, stacked up in column on the information screen, alternately in English and Italian. What was causing the delay was a rough airplane, some kind of private jet, which, ignoring all instruction, was flying in idiosyncratic patterns over southern England and the Channel, which meant that no other planes could penetrate that swathe of airspace, which, in turn, via the series of switches and transfers and reroutings that had been put in place to deal with the whole situation, had spread a huge delay cloud over Europe. Welcome to Radio GAMeC Saturday Night Live. This is a full English-speaking live tonight for international audience and for international guests. And we start with a quote from Staten Island by Tom McCarthy, one of the most relevant authors, in my humble opinion, in our time. And In Our Time was a great title by Ernest Hemingway. And the news is that next Saturday Tom McCarthy will join us here at Radio GAMeC, and I'm so happy and so proud for this his acceptation to take part to our show. We used this piece about Turin and about the huge delay cloud over Europe, because this image reminds me the situation we are living now. This huge delay that in some way we never know, we don't actually know when it will end, if it will end, and what will happen later, what will happen at the end of this huge delay cloud. And here we want what we want to do here in Radio GAMeC is to take our eyes wide open, not eyes wide shut like in the movie, but eyes wide open, and to try to be able to see what's going on, what's happening, and in which sense we can give any kind of answer, any kind of possible path towards understanding in some way the situation. And also we try to tell stories, to meet people, to be able to create a community that is here and as an exchange of feelings, an exchange of ideas, an exchange of worries also, because the moment almost in Bergamo is worrying and sad and very, very difficult. But as a cultural institution, GAMeC has in its DNA, the project of imagine a path where we can return to run, return to walk, return to try to be in the present time. And obviously a museum has to consider arts and artists and the situation and what's going on every single day with the production of contents and with ideas that are on the base of these contents. This is necessary. I still do not see our guests online, so we can wait for them and try to explore in which sense this Saturday Night Live is our maybe most important moment in because now we are talking about Bergamo and about our ideas, our opportunity to tell stories about the world, because here comes the word, and to have an audience that can amplify the situation. We quoted Tom McCarthy because in his novels he is able to imagine different vision of the world, and so I hope that this is what arts can do, and to learn something more about. I'm trying to call Baldo Hauser. I hope he is someone we need to meet. Baldo Hauser is not our guest. Okay, we can go on. The first guest is still not ready, so I move to the second. The second guest is set in Boston and is an architect and an engineer. It's Carlo Ratti. Hi, Carlo. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good, and you?
Me, I'm fine. Okay, it's a difficult life, but I'm trying to go on anyway. What's going on in Boston, Carlo? What's the COVID situation there?
It's okay. It's not fully quarantined here. If I'll show you, actually here you see I spend a lot of time on the balcony just because you see the city and there's a bit of sun, but you see there's people still moving and cycling and so on. So it's not quarantine. Even if the other week the mayor decided something I thought was a bit weird. Decided actually there's no quarantine, well, not full quarantine like in Italy. So yes, there's a stay-at-home suggestion. But the mayor in Boston decided actually we should do curfew, so not go out at night between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., which I thought was a bit weird. I don't think you get infected during the night particularly. So anyway, the situation is a bit like this, and it looks like it hasn't peaked, so it's still going up.
So Carlo, we call you mostly for your project, the system CURA, in Italian is cura, that is connected units for respiratory elements. A project based on the idea of transforming shipping containers into intensive care units. Can you tell something about this idea that will be a great help to face the COVID emergency?
Sure. Well, I remember a quote by Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel was the mayor of Chicago and kind of the right hand of Barack Obama at the White House. And I remember he once said something like, never let a crisis go to waste. So basically, try to learn something from a crisis. So I think over the past weeks, all of us, we've been trying to learn about how we can adapt to a new reality. A crisis means everything around ourselves changes. And so we are forced to change ourselves. And so we've done a number of things. So we changed our way of working, doing much more video conferencing and so on. We're trying to find new ways to do design. It's more difficult to do design than other things when you're remote distributed. It's easier if you have a call and you need to talk. It's more difficult if you design and draw something together. But so we've been adjusting to that. And kind of 3 weeks ago, we said, well, in addition to this, how can we help? How can we use the competences we have in order to help what is going on? And so we had a bit of discussion, different ideas came up, and we realized it was one issue. And the issue is that, whatever happens next, we know that all around the world, we need more ICUs, intensive care units. And today, the way people are doing this is mostly by converting existing spaces, converting like in Milan, converting the fair. I believe in Turin is another place called OGR, another big hall. The same is happening in New Orleans, in New York, and so on. But the problem when you do that we see in China is that a lot of people get infected because you rarely have good negative pressure. And negative pressure means that the virus doesn't go out. So if you do that, it's quick to do a tent hospital, a makeshift hospital, to convert an exhibition space. But you don't. You tend also to put the lives of healthcare professionals at risk, doctors and nurses and so on. And that's because you don't use negative pressure in most cases in order to confine the virus, to do what is called bioconfinement. And its whole idea was, can we actually do something that has bioconfinement? So basically the virus doesn't get around in a very quick way. And that's how we started looking at containers and the normal shipping containers. You find them all over the world. You can move them around quickly. That's another important point, because we see that a couple of weeks ago it was Milan, the emergency was in Milan, then it was in Madrid, now it is in New York. So it seems that this is moving around. The crisis is moving. So if you go shipping containers, you can easily follow the crisis. So anyway, we came up with that idea. We decided this was certainly an open source project. The goal for us was to do some drawings that everybody could use. So we did it. We shared them. In just a couple of days, we had around 100 people from around the world helping in the design, in improving the design. And then the amazing thing is that we got the first team interested in building one. So we're actually building one that next week will start saving human lives, and that's precisely, it's been built in Torino and is going to be deployed in Torino, a new hospital, makeshift hospital in Torino. And then, when we made it public, the community grew. So now there's over 2,000 people around the world who've been really contributing in different ways, either by developing, studying some elements of the container, either by reproducing the container. There's, as far as I know, at least 4 or 5 groups around the world who told us we want to start building this in our country. And so it has, for me, it was kind of how we can use open source in a way to move faster, to share information, and basically to fight the virus with its own tools. The virus is a piece of code, of DNA that's changing our lives. We can do a piece of code which is design and response to fight the virus.
Carlo, you also are an architect, obviously, and architecture is based on relation and spaces and people, relation between spaces and people. Now there is a problem because we cannot stay with other people. Space is a threat in some way. How can we imagine architecture starting from today and looking at the next days when we, in some way, we need to reconsider the idea of space and relation and people staying together?
Well, first of all, I think space and physical space will come back. I don't know if it will take 3 months, 6 months, 1 year or 2 years. In 1918, it took 2 years for the pandemics to go around the world. But then people went back to cities, and actually in the 1920s, it was a very rich social life. It was probably one of the richest moments of social interaction and social life in the 20th century. And maybe I don't know if anybody ever looked at this, but maybe it was also a reaction to this. The roaring 20s became this kind of magic life, perhaps also because people suffered with the war first World War I, and then second with the pandemic. So first of all, as I say, this space will come back. But architecture is not only about following existing relationships, it's about forging new ones. It's about new connections. And so today we can actually find new way to connect, and that's why a lot of the work really deals with that. How we can, I'll tell you another little project that was done by one of the startups that came out of our office. It's called Scribit, Scribit.design. Scribit is a small robot that can write and erase on walls. And it's
We lost Carlo. He has trouble with connection. We wait a few seconds to see if Carlo is able to reconnect with us. Maybe okay, Carlo, we try to call him back if we see him again online, but I think he's not here anymore. It's live, my dear. Okay, we try to call Carlo back. Okay, we are trying to connect, waiting for. Oh, Carlo, here again.
Yeah, sorry. Well, when did you lose me, by the way?
You were talking about the project, the first project you presented.
No, but did you lose me when I was talking about Scribit, or I kept on talking without? No.
The first.
Scribit. Oh,
Yeah.
anyway, we were saying about this. I repeat, I don't know where, but basically, this kind of little robot that writes on wall that went into production, and was a big Kickstarter campaign last year. And I think one of my favorite things is this idea that you can actually use it to do Sudoku on your wall with some of the people you might be quarantining, some of the people in the family. You can play yourself or with others, and do this on the walls in your home. That's the way. Going back to your question about where design architecture can help us to create new relationships between us and the spaces of our home, now that we are locked into our homes, we are in lockdown, or between people in different ways. So going back to the point, I think no doubt physical space will come back, but meanwhile design can help us to develop new relationships between us as humans and also with nature.
Nature is a team. I think that we should go on for hours, but our time is over, Carlo. So I want to thank you to join us today for you. And I hope that the CURA project will be a great success for you and for us.
Thanks, everybody. And, I've been stuck here in the United States because, there were no flights anymore. So that's why I'm here. But I look forward to be able to fly again soon. And so to see all of you in person in Italy. And stay safe and happy Easter. Buona Pasqua.
You too, Carlo. Happy Easter to you. Hello. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. So thanks to Carlo Ratti. And now we go back to call the other guest. A guest I am very, very linked. I'm very fond of his work. He's one of my favorite artists in the European scene. And let's try to connect with Baldo Hauser, is a nickname for an artist that went to Italy several times, and imagine some iconic pieces and some iconic objects. You have to accept, Carsten, if you want to come in live, you have to accept my invitation. We are trying to. But a lot of hearts, a lot of smile, and many thanks on the message. But the live, it's a difficult job, but someone has to do it. So we did it, and we do it. We go on doing it, and waiting to being able to connect. We are marvelous. She wrote, I thank you, but maybe not exactly now. Something went wrong. I try again. But I'm very happy to read that we are marvelous and super Leo. Thank you. Maybe we try. Oh, hi, Carsten. Welcome.
Hello, Leonardo.
How are you?
Yeah, very good. And you?
I'm okay. We listen to you bad. There is some trouble with connection. I'm afraid.
I sit in the best possible point for the connection.
We can hear you.
Okay, let me try something else.
Do you want me to call you back?
I come closer to the router if that's the problem.
Thank you.
Do you still see me?
Now I listen to you better. You are dark, but I listen to you.
Okay.
Now we can also see. The second guest is Holler, one of my favorite artists.
Thank you.
A person I met in Milan, and now Stockholm. What's going on in Stockholm, Carsten? How are you dealing with this quarantine?
Well, I don't know if you hear it in the news, but Sweden is taking a very special role. So it's called like the Swedish experiment, which means that, the city is still functioning as before. There's some restrictions. So there's not more than 50 people allowed together, but you can still be 49. Restaurants are open, people are out in the street. So it's a very interesting, very different situation to all the other countries in Europe. And we have this, the main virologist who is taking all these decisions. So it's really one man called Terrier. And I wonder how he feels, because, you know, like for him, it must be such a burden. If he's doing the wrong thing, this could be a catastrophe. But the numbers look good. And it has certainly to do also with the Swedish people who are like, you know, already, as compared to Italians, if I may say something a bit funny, but already living in some kind of confinement, so to say. You know, they're not so outgoing and easily connecting to each other as maybe in other kind of parts of the world. So, but now this has been accepted, and, you know, people like keep the distance, but they go on with the usual lives. So I'm at the countryside, but I can move freely around as I like.
And are you comfortable with the situation, Carsten, or are you worried by this experiment?
No, I think it's important that we do this as like one country who has the possibility to behave differently. Sweden has like also like a history of doing different things. You know, trying out some social experiments. It's a very social country, if you want. It's also you know, like a place where things have been tried out in the past, but now this is like
Talking about your practice and your work, Carsten, relation and participation are key issues in your work. And do you think that what is going on with the COVID, with the coronavirus, will change the way you think about your practice, or it will be in some way an opportunity to go more over?
about usual life for 24 hours together with these other 100 people. Which was already existing then. You got you were out of the experiment, and you just wanted to see what happens. And it was a bit comparable to...
It's very difficult to hear you from the signal.
Okay, well, the
very,
Swedish
very,
countryside
very
connection,
low,
I cannot go. Okay, let me see if there's anything close I can do.
Can I try to call you in 1 minute? Stop and I recall. It's okay.
You want to call me how?
I stop the conversation and I call you back in 1 minute. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, it's a complex Saturday now, but the show must go on, and I apologize with you because it was difficult to understand. I know. I listened something not so much, and now we try to reconnect with Carsten Holler, and maybe his connection will help us to be more comprehensible, more easy to join our live. Then waiting a minute for trying to recall Carsten. I want to say before that Carlo Ratti is a professor at Boston MIT. I didn't say before, and is considered by World Magazine one of the 50 people who will change the world, and is an Italian coming from Turin, and then now he's based in Boston at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I don't see Carsten still online, so we wait. I go on with. I can't call Stefania because it's not on our list. I try to have conversation with you, with people online. It's a difficult Saturday. Now Baldo Hauser is here. I try again. Okay. Denise, I will explain you later. So, Carsten, I'm here.
Okay, I can see you. Is it better?
Can you see me?
I can hear you. I'm sitting like literally next to the router. So it's like 5 centimeters away from me. It doesn't get any better than this.
Okay. We see you very bad, but I think that we can hear you better than before. So we can try to go on.
There we go. Spotlight.
We have also the light. Now we can see your face also. So
okay.
We're talking about interaction and art practice. But I have another question, Carsten. It's about doubt and perplexity that, according to some critics, are part of your vision and of your work. Now it's a great time of great doubt and perplexity. Do you think that this can improve works, improve our thinking about art production and the way of being inside the art world in some way?
Yeah, I think so, because it is really like a moment where we stop, and this moment of stopping makes us, of course, think, what have we been doing until now? Because we never really had the time to think about this, because we were so busy with all the things we had to do, and it was going like, the feeling was, at least for me, that, you know, it's going faster and faster and faster. So suddenly there comes like a stop for everybody, and you sit there, and at the beginning you just wonder where you are and what you're really doing. But then you think about the past, and then the doubts are coming that I think you were just referring to, and these doubts I really think can be very productive. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to explore their power, which is like a longer discussion than we can do here. But it's also a fantastic opportunity to think about the time we had before, because now, from our perspective, the time we had before must seem fantastic, but we didn't experience it as fantastic. We were always saying these are dark times, and like some countries have bad presidents and so on, and there's climate change and so on. But this was all before things were really getting bad. So we had a fantastic time, and I always thought it was strange that we didn't appreciate this fantastic time more.
Carsten, I like this historic idea of reconsidering the past because of the future. In some way, maybe this is the aim of culture in our time. Can we try to change the future reconsidering the past? You're telling me something like this?
I think we had, I mean, like for us who are like the more privileged people in this world, living in Europe and maybe having like a steady income and, like having also like a lot of time and a lot of access to technology, And okay, things are dooming in front of us. We have big problems that we can look at and see coming, but they're not there yet. And this moment before, like this moment especially of time that we have and not material constraints as we used to have, what have we been doing with this really? So I don't think we were really able to handle the situation. This moment of free time didn't produce any more, like I would say, free thoughts or like radical thoughts or like experiments or things like that. It was really more, you know, like trying to get even busier in order not to be able to cope with that. So I think what we have now is actually, apart from the medical situation, which of course is dramatic and very tragic for many people, also an amazing possibility to consider what makes us and how do we live together and what we can do possibly, which we haven't tried, because the idea would be that you think about other possibilities which have not been implemented.
Carsten, in the previous day we hosted here Hans Ulrich Obrist and Stefano Boeri, and they talked us about a great transnational program of public art to support the cultural system, the art system. How do you think, as an artist, of an idea like this?
Well, I'm an artist, and they are, can we say, more politicians, and also my friends. You know? So I think I can say what I think. I think that it's a great idea and everything, but I think we don't need really more art exhibitions than we already had before, at least. We don't also need more artists, especially we don't need more art works to be done, which by which I mean objects or like performances or films that are kind of time limited. I think, you know, this has been, it was like crazy, you know, like there was so much of this has been produced everywhere in this world that you just wonder, like, you know, where shall this go? It was exponentially increasing in terms of the number of art objects or like time limited, how would you call that, like, you know, performances, so to say, has increased to such an extent that I think it has been harmful for the art world. And I know it's a bit, you know, it's not a very nice thing to say, but in some way, this crisis that we are in now could also be a good way to, you know, clean this up a little bit and just see like what is really important, what can we do with this, and is it really like, do we need more art objects? I don't think so. Maybe we need quite a few artists. Yes, I agree. But we don't need to make more things. We need to make other things. We need to make experiments. We need to produce experiences. This is my credo, if you want. So this hasn't been really, you know, and the structures for this are now ready. So this could be very interesting. So a big transnational, how did you call it, like, you know, project like this could be interesting, but if we just stop making all these art objects, that would be very helpful.
It's in some way a cleaning of our minds, a cleaning of our way of considering art. Maybe this could be one of the consequences of this period.
Yeah, or like the power of art is not in making another representational object, something that represents something which is somehow in there. I think the power of art, well, that's one power of art, but this has been so stretched in the last time. So another power of art would be to experience, to do things, you know, to deviate in behavior, to try to, you know, try different forms of living, something really important. And, you know, I think what I would suggest would be that, you know, instead of spending money to make big transnational things to keep all the art scene alive, I would say we should kind of restructure the whole thing. And if there would be money to spend, it should be in like long-term projects, you know, for groups of people who really want to try something out, and not to make another, exhibition on a big scale. We should keep the exhibitions that we have that have been proven very valuable. And certainly there have to be many new ones, but not as many as we had. This has been like way too much. And I felt a very strong sensation of saturation when I just thought like, it's like enough. I can't see any more art exhibitions. It's too much. It's not good. It's not good for the art. It's not good for anybody. So let's use this time that you're in right now to redirect this a little bit.
I want to finish with two images. The first is your dark corridor. I walked in Milano, and it was a really dark corridor. And the second image is a slide. And I imagine that at the end of the dark corridor of this moment, there will be in some way a slide that will drive us out of the crisis and in a new kind of a relation between people. And do you think that the slide can be a possible a metaphor of a possible escape from this coronavirus emergency?
Yeah, maybe it's the medicine, maybe you just need to find the entrance to the slide, and then by sliding, you're sliding faster than the virus, and the virus stays behind, and you're going faster, and you leave it behind you, and then you're free from it. But of course, like the slide works, also like as an exit from some kind of place where you don't want to be. But it's also a way to, liberate yourself from all the heavy load that you're constantly carrying. So I always say like it's really like there's many things to say, but one of the things is certainly that it's there's a moment of letting go when you have to let go what you carry, and maybe letting go also like, a medical problem could be a fantastic thing to happen. But the idea that there's something at the end of the slide that brings you to this like short, wild moment, that's interesting. So this point we want to get to, and this we don't know where it is, but let's find the entrance first.
Yes, thank you, Carsten. Forgive me for the delay, and I hope you enjoy our conversation.
Yes, it's not the first one. I always like to speak to you.
It's also a pleasure for me. Thank you very much, Carsten, and good luck for everything. And I wait for you in Milano as soon as possible. Okay.
I will be very happy to come and see you very soon. Bye-bye. Ciao, Leonardo. Bye.
Bye. Ciao. So, finally, we managed. I do apologize with you for the inconvenience that we had tonight, but it's the inconvenience of being here and trying to talk. I said in Milano because I met Carsten in Milano, but we should say in Bergamo. Lorenzo Giusti, director of GAMeC, is obviously right in telling me that Bergamo was the place to invite Carsten. But I was thinking about the past meeting we had. So I go to close this live travel, live night with a very, very famous classic poem, and I will try to read it at my best. It will not be the best in the world, but I try to be sufficient. The Tiger by William Blake. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the end there sighs the fire? And what shoulder and what heart could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp there its deadly terror claps? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears? Did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamp make tea? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Whew. Carsten told us that there are too many objects and we need more experience, and I can do what can I do, and I can tell you that I try to make an experience of tonight. It was a difficult experience, it was a complex experience, but now it's over, and I really want to thank who had the patience of remaining here during this Saturday Night Live at Radio GAMeC, and who stay with us in the waves of the travel. It was like shipping in some way into unknown seas and into unknown situation, but there is an harbor on the horizon, and maybe we will be here also tomorrow in the Easter day with 2 more guests and 2 more stories to tell to you. And we will be back at 11:30 a.m. for Italian time in Bergamo. And from Bergamo, from GAMeC, from Radio GAMeC, I want to say thank you to each one of you, and to who abandoned because he wasn't able to understand it, who will be here tomorrow, to who will be here tomorrow. And I say you good night and happy Easter. I thank Carlo Ratti, I thanks to Carsten Holler, and to who helped us to arrive here tonight for another journey through the world, the art world and the culture world. See you tomorrow, and have a nice night, have a nice day for who is linked here from abroad.